got it. Here we go.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hello, everyone. This is Gruesome Herzog, and my very special guest tonight is, in my eyes, an icon in horror and movie screens, period. It's the lovely Sybil Danning. How you doing, Sybil?
I'm doing great, Scott. I can call you Scott, right?
Yes, you can.
All right. Great being with you.
Thank you very much.
How you doing there in Pennsylvania?
Well, the snow's melting, and it's pretty decent.
Yeah, you're all the water's coming over here in California. We're like half underwater.
Oh, brother.
But we're good. We can't complain.
That's great. Now, if you don't mind, I know you started it in a career in the 60s, but if we do every movie, that means we're probably going to be here for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, so I'm going to try and cut it down a little bit. And I would like to start in 1980, if you don't mind, in a good old flick called Night Kill.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, in case the listeners haven't seen this movie, would you be willing to give us a slight taste of your experience?
Well, I tell you something. Night Kill is a movie. I don't know how many people saw that. It was a lot of fun. We shot in Miami. Miami. What am I saying? In Miami. We shot in Arizona, and Ted Post directed that. It was a wonderful movie with the ever interesting, great, wonderful Robert Mitchum.
You got it.
Oh, my God. I had been a great fan of his, and when I met him, we had a lot of fun talking. And, of course, I love Jacqueline Smith, too, and we worked together. But Robert Mitchum is just, I loved him, and the funny thing is he loved being on the set all the time. As a matter of fact, Ted had to keep him off the set when he was not shooting because he just didn't want to go home. And on the days he wasn't shooting, he was there. But the problem was when he wasn't shooting, he would have a couple of drinks, and the cameras would be rolling, and he would be talking, "Yeah, attaboy, go get him." And he'd have his own comments, and we were dying laughing quietly while he was interrupting the shots. And he kept promising, "Oh, no, I'm not going to say anything." And the director had to call cut and start all over again.
Oh, God.
But he just couldn't get, Robert to leave the set because he just loved, lived, and breathed his work. And but he wouldn't be quiet either because he was so into the scenes. But they got the shots all right, and he was happy. And it was a very interesting thriller. And it was great working with Jacqueline Smith. It was also my first trip to Arizona, the beautiful Camelback Mountains there. So it was great.
And Robert Mitchum had that distinguished voice also.
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely, with that whiskey voice. He was amazing.
Yes.
But a very nice man. I must say he was a gentleman and a very nice man.
You know what? There's another one here, if you don't mind. It's called, now this might bring your memories, but it's with Anthony Quinn. It's The Salamander in 1981, a nice thriller. Oh,
wow, The Salamander, yes. Well, that was based on a very famous book. I don't know if people know that. The Salamander was based on the book called The Salamander, written by Morris West, who also wrote The Shoes of the Fisherman.
Okay.
And it's based on a true story. There was actually, Morris West was in Italy at the time. It was the 60s, and there was almost a fascist coup that was going to take over in Italy. And so this is all based on a true story. And I play Lily Andrews, who is actually, she's Polish, working for the communists in Italy, spying on the fascists. So I really enjoyed that role. It was an honor for me to be in that movie, and of course I was a huge fan of Anthony Quinn.
Yep.
And I also like Franco Nero. I mean, I don't know how many people have seen his Django movies, but I really loved him as Django. Remember him?
Yepper.
The westerns where he dragged the coffin behind him and looked really rugged and great. So, I mean, Franco and I have done a few movies together. So, we did we the Salamander. Then we also did, let's see, what was that called? The Sam Marlowe movie.
Yep.
We did that one, and we did another one in Italy. So we've worked together a few times and really had a lot of fun. He was great to work with, and I think it was called San Marlo Private Eye.
Yep, that's
what it was called here. You know, the names always change. And the other one we did was called Il Giorno del Cobra, the Day of the Cobra.
Ooh.
And we shot that. That was a lot of fun too. We shot that in Italy, in Genova, in beautiful Genova. But to get back to the Salamander was a lot of fun because, as you could see, there were beautiful locations. We shot all over Rome, and also Venice.
Right.
And there were other wonderful people in there too. I mean, Christopher Lee.
Yep, Martin Balsam.
Martin Balsam and I. We used to go and have lunch together and drink together, and he'd have wonderful stories to tell. I love Martin Balsam. And Christopher Lee was in there. We've done a total of 5 movies together. So
wow.
It's like, family getting together. And then, of course, Cleavon Little, a sweet guy who's no longer with us. And then Paul Smith and I, who did another movie together, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the beautiful Claudia Cardinale.
Yes.
So it was quite a lineup. And Eli Wallach. Don't forget Eli Wallach, too.
Well,
Lineup.
Well, I think there's 2 movies I'm going to be mentioning right now. I think me being 42 and born in 68, I can remember these 2 being on a cable channel quite often. And it was with Lou Ferrigno. Phenomenal movies. The 7 Magnificent Gladiators in 1983. What
Wow.
a cast.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, we actually did 2 movies back to back, and those are the 2 that we did. We did the 7 Magnificent Gladiators, that of course had Lou, and he was the lead gladiator, of course, and I was one of his gladiators, and Brad Harris.
Yep.
He, I think he stayed on in Rome, and he lived there and did other movies. But mainly Brad Harris. I think Mandy Bryce Davies was in on that one too. Yeah. But we had a wonderful time because Lou and I were invited by Cannes Films at that time to go to the big famous Cannes Film Festival together, and we took pictures together because we were on our way from Cannes in the south of France to Rome to shoot both of those movies back to back. So we were there taking a lot of pictures as in the 7 Magnificent Gladiators as the 2 gladiators, and Hercules.
Yep.
As everyone knows, Lou played Hercules in that one. So we had a great time together doing all the publicity and everything, and then we went to Rome, and we got to work right away with our stunt guys because we had to brush up on our sword fighting, and then we had to get familiar with our horses and to ride our horses. I do my own horseback riding in there. So does Lou. And I have to tell you, Lou was wonderful. He was like a little child because he said all his life that's really what inspired him to work out so hard, because he always wanted to be Hercules or play Hercules.
That's
and
cool.
So the day had come, and you have to admit, that was his heyday. He looked like a god. He really looked like a Greek god.
Yep.
And but that was hard work. He worked a long time for that, and I remember going, having lunch with him, and we talk about our role and we go over dialogue. Lou, when people go in an Italian restaurant, you order one bowl of spaghetti. He ordered a whole, it's like a plate.
Right.
He ordered like a bowl where other people would have salad in it for 4. He would order a big bowl. He needed that to bulk up.
Yeah.
So he would eat those carbohydrates. He would eat a whole huge bowl of pasta. Then he would have another huge bowl like that of salad.
Wow.
And then he'd eat a whole chicken for the protein.
Jeez.
So he was really working hard, bulking up, and he was just incredible. And we had a lot of fun on that show, too. So both of them were wonderful. And, of course, Rome is not a bad place to shoot. We shot in the city and then along the coastline where all the ruins were.
Right.
And, we had two different directors. I forget the name of the magnificent gladiator one, but Hercules was Luigi Cozzi.
Right.
Cozzi. Louis Coates, as he's known in the United States. So.
Now, the next movie that in '84, which you played a mercenary. I think now is this not your? This is probably your first lead role in the '80s in Panther Squad.
Oh, Panther Squad.
I saw that one too.
Well, that was my first producing, so as a producer, I hired myself. So how was that? Yeah. It's really interesting because I just did an interview for Fangoria magazine, which is coming out in February, with my new film, Virus X.
Mm-hmm.
And the person, Vivian, the interviewer, one of her favorite movies, because she's also putting me in an entire chapter of her book, Lillian Spider Baby is the name she goes by, and she's giving me an entire chapter. It's about women in B movies, and one of her favorite movies of all time of my movies is Panther Squad.
Yep.
And that's a movie that not many talk about because it was really very low budget. It was my first producing where I got a credit. I mean, when I was in Europe before I came to the United States, I had put together a movie where we were nominated for Best Foreign Film, which was called Operation Thunderbolt. That was the raid on Entebbe, where I played the Gabriele Tiedemann, the German terrorist. And I put all that together. That was all German money, German distribution, but I never got paid for that or a credit. So I had done that already when I was in Europe. Also, God's Gun. On that movie, a lot of people don't know that God's Gun was shot in Israel, and they ran out of money for that, and I helped them raise money to continue on the movie.
Okay.
Didn't get credit on that. So here I am in the States. I have learned from the best in Hollywood, and I learned that when you put money together and you get distribution and you do those kind of things, that's called producing, and you get a credit, and normally you get paid for it.
Right.
So in this case, I said, okay, I'll be in this movie. I want to be a part of it, but I also want to be a producer, and I will take my risks on the back end, and brought in, I brought in the music, and my manager did a rewrite because the writing was actually, my partner was French, and by the time it got to the Spaniards, we shot it in Spain. The dialogue didn't make that much sense, and my manager at the time rewrote it, and he really gave it some fun because, I mean, here we are, Panther Squad, low budget. It was a French-Spanish-American co-production. I was the co-producer, and am a partner in the United States market, and we went to Spain, and here we were. I mean, you can see we didn't have a lot of helicopters, fast cars,
right,
speedboats, and tanks or anything like that. We did a lot of running. So my Panther Squad girls and I, we were very good on our feet, and we weren't bad fighting off the South American militia either.
Right.
We worked with the stunt guys in Spain, and they were very good. I mean, so actually what we did do ourselves and what we could do, we had no stunt doubles. Everything we did ourselves, but we really worked on that so that it looked good, whether it was, choke holding the guys or kicking them or just plain beating them up. We were good at it.
Right.
And we had a lot of fun doing it because the low-budget movies sometimes, like that one, we didn't have a lot to work with, so we had to be creative, and we enjoyed it. But we looked good, didn't we?
Yeah.
Hi, girls?
For a teenager, oh.
My girls were not bad.
No.
Yeah.
Well, the next one is one of my favorite horror movies that you're in. As a matter of fact, I posted a trailer. I have a blog that posts all these old trailers and stuff. And it was Howling 2. Your Sister is a Werewolf in 85. And I've got a lot of comments about this one. One of my favorites.
You want to make comments, or you got them on your blog?
No, I did get comments on my blog about that YouTube video, the video for it. People love that movie to this day yet.
Well, but then there are critics that write them that really hate it, and they say it's stupid and it's bad, and
oh well.
And but I don't care. I know Joe Dante. I love his work. I didn't work with him on Amazon Women on the Moon, but he was one of the directors of that. I know him personally. I've been to his home. He's a great director. I love him, and still, I always say to him, your Howling is the best. He says, no, yours is the best. And I say, no, yours is the best. And he says, well, yours is the most fun. I say, that it is. You got it,
Mm-hmm.
Because, look, we didn't have Rob Bottin, okay? Joe had a little better and bigger budget than we did. And those werewolves are Rob Bottin's work, okay? When we did Howling 2, we were, I guess, lucky enough on the one hand and not lucky to have to go to, at that time, Czechoslovakia, today the Czech Republic, which was still behind the Iron Curtain.
Right.
The nice thing about that is, actors love to be on location, because if you walk into an old castle, which is where we shot, you're totally into the scene. It's a lot more fulfilling than being on a stage. And, okay, you walk out the door and there's the craft services, But there you walk into the cold, rooms, and you come into a room that is candlelit and it has all the atmosphere, which, Philippe Mora, as a director, is so known for. He really gives the movie beautiful atmosphere, and you walk into that castle. So we were lucky that we could actually do this in a country where you really felt like we were in Romania and in the old country.
Right.
And, of course, working with Christopher was not bad, and I have to tell you, I learned one thing, probably the most important thing from him. He said, Sybil, I always take every role I do very seriously. And I learned that from him, because from when I was still in Europe, when we worked together, to the Howling, here we were. How you have to really keep your dignity when you're standing there with nothing but blonde hair taped all over your body.
Right.
And still, play the role. But Christopher was serious in his role, like he says, no matter what, and I am too. So it doesn't matter what character I play. Once I sign on to play that character, I take it serious. And I think that's what my fans, and Christopher's fans too, love so much about us, that we take those roles serious. There are actors, and I don't want to mention one in particular, who did a movie, and then when the movie was over, she and I were asked to do the publicity, and she wanted nothing more to do with the movie, and she said, no, I don't want to promote it, and I don't like the movie, and I should have never done it. And I think either I do it and I stand to it, or I don't do it.
Right.
And that's something that I think, we had a lot of fun doing. Philippe gave it a great atmosphere. I think the cast was fantastic. Marcia Hunt was great, too. And Annie McEnroe, she was so adorable. And of course, Christopher. So, and playing his sister, how interesting. And we had a pretty good band, too. I think that music was good. That was a Czech band, by the way.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, one thing I will say, what kills me today is you got these people, critics, who criticize 80s movies, 80s horror, only because they can't match up to technology today, and that is so wrong. I'm a diehard 80s horror fan, 80s anything, and, I enjoy it because it's my childhood growing up, and that's just the way it is. But people just bash on 80s stuff. Come on, give me a break. You know what I mean? The technology is way different back then than it is now.
Yeah, well, look when we did Amazon Women on the Moon, we were making fun of the 50s. Mm-hmm. With the paper moon hanging from a string, right?
Yeah.
Or the moon as a piece of cheese. And, I mean, that's okay to make fun and spoof that, too, but you're absolutely right. Movies like The Howling 2, you have to take serious. And, I mean, nowadays, you know, Tron or whatever it is, you cannot compare these movies technically. You know, it's become so, the movies have become so technical right now that it's actually nice to see a movie like The Fighter where, you know, I just saw that and I really love The Fighter. I mean, it's nice to see movies for what they are, and they don't have to be all technical, and sometimes CGI nowadays is so bad and so overdone that I prefer movies that, you know, like The Howling 2 that I think did quite well and took itself as serious as you can, being a werewolf movie.
Right,
you know?
Right. And not to mention the actors, along with yourself, back in the 80s. Like this next movie I'm going to talk about, called The Tomb in '86. You had John Carradine, Cameron Mitchell. You know, I mean, these guys back in the 80s. Well, of course, they've been in movies long before that, but they take their job seriously. And when you watch an 80s movie like that, you can tell that the actors, including yourself, or like veterans of the art. You know what I mean? You know exactly how to do your role and to do it enough to make it look good compared to today's movies where an actress can be half as good, but they can digitalize it to make it look even better, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, I think that's why this journalist that did the interview for Fangoria on behalf of Virus X coming out now, and they're big fans of mine, but asked and did a long interview with me for her book because it is about the greatest B-movie actresses of all time.
Yep.
And she talks about the same thing. She has the same kind of respect for those movies in those days. I mean, what I did in those days, basically Angelina Jolie started doing in the 90s with Tomb Raider.
Right.
So, but if Tomb Raider would have been done by Roger Corman, for instance, it would have been a B movie. So, to me, budgets are always, A and B are just budgets anyhow. So that's, I mean... Exactly. Thank God for all the fans, including yourself and all the fans out there that love B movies, because I do too, and I've always been very proud of everything I've done. And I don't mind being called the Queen of the Bees, or whatever you want to call me. I love it. And by the way, before we leave The Howling 2 and go to the Tomb, I want to tell you and my fans out there, and I think you'll be very happy to know, The Howling 2, when it came out on DVD, it was like the #1 seller for MGM in the UK. Sony bought it from MGM here. It came out #1. And can you believe those guys? I mean, I called up the director and I said, I hear it's coming out and we should do some comments. And so he said, yeah, great, call over. I called over there. They said, oh, Miss Danning, thank you so much. We already have the DVD ready to go out, but if we ever put out Howling 1 and 2, we'll get back to you and we'll do a special with you. And I said, yeah, and the director maybe? I mean, they never even picked up the phone. We were ready to do this for free, to do it for our fans. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Okay?
They blew it.
So, but what came out of it, something good came out of it, I said, you know what, Philippe, let's do another one, because that one is going to do very well. It's done so well. And by the way, it ended up being #1 on the DVD list here, and their sales for Sony and MGM in the UK and all over the world. I mean, the DVD just went through the roof because all the older fans that had seen the movie, like yourself, and then the younger people went to see it too, the young fans, that had never seen the movie.
Bravo.
So it did very well. So I said, listen, let's do another one, okay? And he said, you know what, I'm going to talk to Gary Brandner, who is the author who wrote all the Howling books, and all 7 movies were based on, okay? And he calls me like the next day, and he says, Sybil, I talked to Gary, and he says, good idea, bad idea. I said, okay, give me bad idea first. He said, bad idea about doing another Howling, because the rights are so tangled up, and he thinks 7 is enough. good idea. He said, let's start a new franchise. He said, Sybil, you will be the lead character in there. Philippe Mora, you will direct it, and I, Gary, will write it. So, here we are. We have now a new franchise. I just now, about a week ago, got in the first screenplay.
Wow.
And it is going to have to do, the first one will have to do with werewolves, but it will not only be werewolves. We'll be dealing with werewolves, vampires, creatures of the night, and changelings, as we call them.
No kidding.
So here we are. We've got it now. We've got it going, and we are now going to, it's called Night Hunters. So we are going to be meeting after the beginning of the year and go over the first draft and have our little meeting and then move on.
Congratulations.
It's called Night Hunters.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing some of that stuff back. We need some of that.
But the tomb, now I got to tell you, Scott, I love the tomb because, yeah, I really love that. Hey, I was a jewel thief. Who wouldn't love that?
I know.
You fly your own plane, you have your competition, you wipe out the competition, and I was ready for it because I had my bullet belt and and machine gun and everything ready. I was going to, by all means, protect my diamonds and my treasure. And I loved that role, even though it was small. But when she was there, she was good.
Yep. Now, what was it like to work
with... And Fred, my dear friend Fred Ray directed that.
Yep. Now, what was it like to work with John Carradine?
Oh, well, what I have to tell you, the
him.
Carradines are all...
Mm-hmm.
He is not the only Carradine I worked with. I worked with him, and then in Rome, I shot a movie called, it was called Arrivano Joe and Margherito. I don't know what the title was here. Do you know that?
No, I don't.
It was with Keith Carradine and Tom Skerritt.
Oh, yeah. I'm drawing a blank.
Arrivano Arriving Joe and Margherito. Those are the two guys. So I don't know what it was called here in this country.
Oh, yeah.
But it was wonderful working with Keith and of course, Tom Skerritt. I just love Tom Skerritt. So.
Yeah, it's a shame about the other son, David. That was sad.
Well, David, I know David, and I've spent time with him. I've been to his home. I knew one of his wives, and we actually sat and talked and drank. And this was a wonderful kind of a ranch house he had outside of Los Angeles, and I mean he was a great character. I remember we were sitting there, his wife, he and I were sitting there having a drink, and all of a sudden this goat walks through the living room. And I said, I thought, did I have one whiskey too many? He says, no, you saw right, that's a goat. I said, oh, how cute. He says, oh yeah, our animals, they're just, we feel so one with our animals, and the animals are roaming in and out. I mean, cats and dogs, forget it. Goats and chickens and everything, and it was just, that's the kind of guy he was. He was such a free spirit.
Yes.
Such a free spirit that if you want me to send you a picture with him, I have a nice picture with him.
Cool. I would like that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, he was a great guy. He was somebody that obviously had a very dark side, but a lot of us have that.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Wonderful, light side that everybody sees, and then that dark side. And not everyone always gets to see the dark side until it's very dark.
Yep. Well, I want to get off of the sadness for a couple seconds here.
Yeah.
The next movie that I skipped through a couple, because like I said, there's a lot, but there's one that you're going to laugh at me and I'm going to ask you about. Because
you skipped one of my movies, Scott? I thought you were my fan. How dare you skip one of my movies?
Well, if I did, I'll be here all night. But
I'm going to come over to Pennsylvania and bring my bullwhip.
and kick my ass, right?
Yeah,
just
kick your ass. You skipped one of my movies. Which one did you skip? Do you remember? No.
Well, the one you mentioned about the Amazon women, but that's not the one I'm going to talk about. The one that my dad loves, believe it or not, is the Phantom Empire in '89. Can you believe that?
Does he like the part where I take Jeffrey Holmes prisoner, maybe? Yes? Is that it? Yes?
Could be.
Well, that's Fred Olin Ray again, right?
Yepper.
Yeah, but listen, you have to, talking about having fun and great B movies, that's a great little B movie.
Mm-hmm.
How can you knock it? Here I am coming from another planet, and I crash my spaceship, and I'm in this mine, mining diamonds for fuel to get the hell off of this planet and back to my planet, and I take Jeffrey Holmes prisoner. And my outfits, of course, were great, and everybody loves Robbie the Robot, who was my buddy there. So, leave it up to Fred. Those are the kind of movies he loves. If he can have little creatures or little fantasy figures in there, but Robbie the Robot was not bad.
Yep.
Not bad at all.
And I love the artwork on that movie, the DVD cover.
Oh, yeah.
That's neat.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember my dad watching that. Even today, he still has that copy, and he still watches it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
funny.
it is cute. I loved that movie. I loved it, and those were all of Fred's old buddies, and my friends too that I've seen so many times. I only worked with Jeffrey Combs in that one role, but Ross Hagen and Robert Corey, who's no longer with us, and Russ Tamblyn. Those are all wonderful. Michelle Bauer, excuse me. She and her gorgeous body has been in many of Fred's movies, so you can't knock that. And of course, Robbie the Robot, who I really love. Yeah, and you're right, the artwork was really fantastic. And you can't knock my costumes, which in just about every movie is always spectacular.
Right. Well, I am going to move to 2007, and I like this movie, Grindhouse in 2007.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Great cast.
Yes. And should I you got any particular questions?
Nope. Just I just like to hear, the listeners like to hear your experience from doing like the 80s and 90s types movies to a Grindhouse type horror thriller. What was it like to basically do two kinds of worlds of the movie industry, if you know what I mean?
Well, you have to, and I want to point out one thing and thank all my fans while I'm doing this. Thank you, Scott, and all my fans for being there even when I was gone, because after L.A. Bounty in 1989, I had an accident in the gym and had to have back surgery. I was gone for 14 years. I don't know if my fans realize that. Some do, some don't. Some don't know it's been that long. But here I am. Coming back. After 89, I did not do a movie.
I saw that. So, I was afraid to ask. I don't want to pry.
Thank you, and I appreciate your sensitivity there, but I ain't sensitive. I'm just telling you, Danning's back, and I came back kicking ass, and what I was ready to do, I said, okay. I saw The Devil's Rejects, and I was at a memorabilia show, and I met Ken Foray there, the wonderful African-American actor. I love Ken.
He works
with Rob Zombie all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, you know what, I really loved Devil's Rejects, and I really would love to work with Rob. Give me his phone number. And he said, I can't do that, but I will tell him you would like to work with him. Shortly thereafter, I get a call from Rob, come on in, he's doing Werewolf, Woman of the SS, and I thought, I've died and gone to heaven. Here I was. I came to Hollywood to lose my German accent because I didn't always want to play Survivor for Nazi,
Yeah, right.
And I was never cast that until 2007. And here we are, the Krupp sisters. So I came in, I went in, I met Rob, I met Sherry, his wife, and I was there, and he had the wigs there, and he wanted to see what we looked like. And it was like, I came in, and, hey, you want to work with me? It's just so great, because it was like, come on in, try the wigs on, and this, and we want to get your costumes and your measurements and everything. And I knew that Rob, is a collector of memorabilia, so I brought him And I thought, well, if he has it, to hell with it. If he doesn't, great. It was his birthday. It was in January. This was around his birthday. I gave him the last poster. I have to go find some again of the Howling 2.
Wow.
I gave him my last poster, and I gave him a copy, a DVD of the Howling 2. And I thought, if he has it. So anyhow, I took it there, and he was busy, and they said, just put it in his office. We'll put it in his office. So they put it in his office. We did the trying on and everything. Oh, great, Sybil. And it just so turned out he's a fan of mine. I want to leave, and somebody says, oh, Rob wants you to come into his office. And I thought, oh, no, now what? But I knew it was coming. So I went in there, and he said, Sybil, thank you. He says, you know what? I do not have the DVD, and I do not have the poster, and I love that movie, and thank you so much, but I'm not going to let you go before you sign it. So I signed him the poster, I signed him the DVD, and I left. Now we're shooting, okay? And when I was in the office, of course, I was nosy. I wanted to see everything that's going on, and I knew he was doing Halloween. So I see all these pictures up there, and I said to one of the guys in the office, I said, so you got any more roles still open? I'd love to be in Halloween. He said, no, unfortunately, I think they're at this time, all cast. So we're shooting Werewolf, Woman of the SS, and I said to Rob, I would love to be in Halloween. He says, well, we're all cast, but let me give it a thought. The end of that day, he comes to my trailer, knocks on the door, and he says, Sybil, I got the role for you.
Oh, wow.
You're going to play, it's not a big role, but it's an important role because you're going to be the last person that little Mike Myers kills. And so I said, you know what? I don't care what you want me to play in Halloween.
Yeah,
I'll play anything. I just want to be in it.
Right.
So there you go. So there it was. And he said, you're kind of a little bit, she's like a Nurse Ratched kind of character. And so that's what it is. Unfortunately, what you saw was cut down. But then again, other people's roles were cut out that were in it. And, he just has so many people that he really loves and loves to cast, the actors that he likes, that at the end of the day he has to cut somewhere,
Yep.
So
I loved Halloween.
But that's how I got to that movie. Very simple.
That's awesome.
Like that.
That is awesome. You know what, Sybil? That's something that can jumpstart you back in there again. See, I mean, it don't have to be a big role. If you're placed in a movie that was big, there you go. There's your stepping stone back into the movie industry again. Bravo.
Yeah, but you know what? It's also a hard act to follow, isn't it? I mean, after you've worked with Tarantino,
yep,
in a Tarantino movie, in a Rob Zombie movie, where do you go from there? I turned down so many movies, you have no idea, because they were no good. I didn't like the script.
Right.
Either I didn't like the director, or I didn't like the script, or usually both. Then along comes Virus X.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
And I said,
I'm sorry.
Okay, well, this ain't no big movie. Well, this ain't no, it's not Rob Zombie, and it's not,
I know, it's hard act to follow.
Tarantino movie, but I like the script, and it starts for me with the script, unless, of course, you're talking Rob Zombie. I mean, Rob, like I said to him, anything in Halloween, I mean, if he's a fan of mine, he's not going to put me in there as the janitor, okay?
Right.
I know that. So, but I like the script. Then I met with, and actually I have to tell you, I really want him to have credit for it. I don't know if you know him, Dylan Vox.
Oh, yeah.
I did The Lair with Dylan. I
Yep.
mean, that's Fred Olin Ray, okay? And when the third season came up, Fred got me, and I ended up doing 6 of 13 episodes and met Dylan Vox. And Dylan is a huge fan of mine. And after we worked together, he was talking to Domiciano Arcangeli, the producer and one of the stars, who actually they call him my lapdog.
Yes.
My lapdog in this movie.
I was going to say that.
They were talking, and Dylan actually asked him and said, who do you have for the role of Danita Harrington? And they said, well, we don't know. We are talking to somebody, and I don't want to mention who they mentioned. And he said, oh, no, you got to get Sybil Danning. She'd be perfect. And they said, you know Sybil Danning? He said, yeah, I know her. You can call her. He said, yeah, I can call her. So anyhow, long story short, that's how I got the script. He emailed me, and he said, Sybil, read the script. And then I met with Ryan, who I really liked very much. I met with Domiziano, who I really liked. I liked their energy. I loved their vision. I loved their passion. And I loved that story. And I said, hey, this is a good story, very well written. And I knew it was a small movie. I didn't know how small, but I knew it was small. But I said, okay, there are some things you do because you want to be a part of it.
Right.
And so I ended up being a part of it. And it was a little bit of a departure for me in the sense that they said, Sybil, we don't want you to look beautiful. You know, you are who you are. You're basically, they wanted me more haggish, you know, like a real mean hag. But I'm giving away too much. Anyhow.
No, you're not.
But I really loved being a part of it, and there are some great actors in there as well. And I think we have a great little movie. And hey, I mean, Lionsgate is bringing out Virus X on February 1, 2011.
Yep.
And I'm doing a lot of publicity for it. I'm all behind it, 100%. And I really wish the movie much luck. And Ryan is, you know, he, I don't know if people know, but this is his first directing, and he did a hell of a job.
Yes, he did.
I really loved working with him. He didn't let me get away with anything. He really, you know, won an award for, it was, I'm trying to think the name of it, I'll tell you in a moment, but he actually won an award as a cinematographer. He was a cinematographer before.
Okay.
And he, this was his first directing. He also co-wrote the screenplay, and I just really, really loved his energy. These were young guys that had a vision, and I wanted to be a part of it. And I was really happy working with it.
I am a follower, but I am a supporter of this movie as well. Like I said, I watched it yesterday, and I absolutely love this movie. And Domiziano Arcangeli was one of the most creepiest people I've ever seen in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I got to say. And I've talked to Joe Zazzo, another neat guy.
Yeah.
Yes, that movie, I'm telling you, once it gets released in February, it's going to surprise a lot of people. I think Matt Chasen alone is going to be surprised how this movie's going to take off. Because I'm telling you something, for what you said, the movie, you know, for the budget that they had for that movie, I absolutely loved it. And
me too.
I hate to say this, but the ending, it's a twist. I'm not going to say any more because I want to ruin it.
No, don't give anything away. We want our fans to go and see it. Yeah.
Right. But anybody who sees that, when they do see it, they're going to be shocked. That's all I got to say.
Yep. It's a big shocker, and it just came to my mind now. You shocked me, and my brain's working. It was called Finale. Ryan won the best cinematography. That was the Boston International Film Festival.
Okay.
For the movie Finale. As a cinematographer. Okay. No, I mean, he was, I loved him so much. There was one, it's a cute little story because here we are, we're having, you know, we didn't have caviar catered. This was a low budget. So we had fried chicken and salad, okay? And I was having a little lunch, and of course everybody was eating, and Ryan comes at the end, and I think it was like 1.5 pieces of chicken left, and I thought somebody would have brought him chicken, but nobody did. And he comes and he's getting something to drink, and I grabbed that chicken and I said, "Have you eaten?" He said, "No," and I said, "Here, eat this." And he said, "Oh, thank you so much." You know, he hadn't eaten all day. This was like 3 in the afternoon, and I said, "You got to eat." He said, "Oh no, Sybil, I eat, breathe, sleep, feel, live this movie. That's all I can do." And I said, "So what are you living off of?" And he said, "Coca-Cola."
Oh, boy.
Coca-Cola was keeping him going. That was fueling him throughout the whole movie.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, he is slim, and I know he was doing that. And I just felt, I guess not being a mother, I don't know, but for directors, my mother instinct came out, and I had to get him, make sure he ate some chicken. I say, "You eat your protein. You got to get through this movie. We need you." Yeah. He's a sweetheart.
Well, may I ask you, do you got any other projects in the future coming up?
Yes. I actually, let's see now. you do know I did jump with Patrick Swayze too, and I want to mention it.
Oh yes,
he has so many wonderful, wonderful fans. From starting with
Dirty Dancing.
my two movies, Dirty Dancing and
Red
Ghost.
Dawn.
And Ghost.
Yeah, and Red Dawn was a great one.
Yes, too, but those are my two favorite because I think that also showed the range he had.
Yes.
The sensitivity of Ghost, and then that fiery sexuality in Dirty Dancing. So, well, that opened up the Jewish Film Festival 2 years ago here in Los Angeles, and it's been to many festivals. It has not been officially released in the United States yet, but I'm really very proud of that movie, and I'm happy that I was able to work with him. So, just to mention one more thing of the past.
No problem.
Then what I have coming up, and I'm going to end with the movie because I also have a Sybil Danning game in the works.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting.
It's going to be a game, and it's going to be based on the character that I know called Ruger from the movie L.A. Bounty.
Okay.
I don't own the movie, but I own the character. And as you know, she was an LAPD cop who, when she didn't read some scumbags Miranda rights, they shot her off the LAPD, and so she became a bounty hunter and went after him. That was Wings Hauser. And what the justice system didn't do, she did. She shot him dead.
Wow.
So Ruger lives on, not in L.A. Bounty anymore, but it's now just Ruger, the bounty hunter, and it's going to be a first-person shooter game.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to start
Nice.
with that. I also already have a concept and a screenplay to do another movie or a TV series, whatever. We'll see, but that's in the works, and I love that because I love action, as you know. I mean, of all the movies you mentioned there, if you would ask me which of the roles I like best, the two are when I play the German terrorist
Yep.
in Entebbe and The Tomb,
Nice.
because I do love action. I mean, then, of course, the other side of me is, the horror and the sci-fi, because that's the kid in me, because I've been a tomboy ever since I could walk, I could climb trees, So, I was the kind of little girl. I mean, my mother told me when I was like 6 years old, I'd run down to the junkyard and I'd be driving, sitting, pretending like I'm driving the car, and I had a little boyfriend. He had to sit shotgun. I was the driver. I was in charge. You're my race car partner here, but I was the driver,
Right.
So I'm excited about having my own game. And I'm writing a book. And you're probably going to say, oh, everybody's doing that. I really didn't want to do it yet, but I'm being pushed. And I have a wonderful editor. His name is Marshall Terrell. And he just wrote, I'm not sure if it's the third or the fourth book. He just wrote another book on Steve McQueen.
Oh, okay.
And he is an incredible, incredible writer. And I had actually asked him to co-write, and he said, no, Sybil, I don't want to co-write. I want to, I just want to be your editor. And so I was supposed to have it done this year, but it's going to be next year. So I'm working on that book, and it'll be an autobiography.
I will buy it.
Up to date, okay?
I will buy it.
And of the movies, I'm involved right now, and we're in the contract stages. It's a black comedy called City of Shoulders and Noses, Close Encounters with Italians, and I'm going to be playing a New Haven, Connecticut police officer in that. And if everything goes well, I want Lou to play my detective.
Sweet.
So, but we've got other people too that I can't talk about. That's going to be in that because we're just now in the planning stages of putting the co-financing together. So
Okay.
that's where that is, and but that's wonderful. And my partner's Tommy Ardolino, who's based on his family. He's the writer of the script and is my co-partner, as well as George Parra, who produced Sideways with Paul Giamatti.
Okay.
So I have some good partners there. Now, the movie that I'm really working on right now, and which seems to be more difficult to put together than City of Shoulders and Noses, which is a much bigger budget, is a movie called The Last Revenants. And The Last Revenants is a vampire movie.
Nice.
And we'll have to do another interview, Scott. I cannot mention the names. I have a wonderful male lead interested. And besides myself, there are 3 young girls who are vampires in there.
Wow.
And myself. And I'm very excited about that. Joe Eckert is directing that. He just finished doing a movie called Pizza Man with Frankie Muniz.
Yep.
And he's a wonderful director. And he also directed a fantastic documentary called Champion. That was a documentary on Danny Trejo. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was, it's about him being an ex-convict, a drug counselor. He basically went from being a drug dealer and a gang member and a thief, an armed robber and a felon and a convict, to being a drug counselor for children, a role model, a friend, a father, and then a movie star. So Danny Trejo was incredible. And Joe directed that, that had Val Kilmer, Dennis Hopper, and Robert Rodriguez, and Antonio Banderas did a little cameo. So Joe is a wonderful. He's his background is Colombian, but he's out in New York. But he is a wonderful director, not only with actors, and as you can see, he can draw wonderful names. You just heard who he had for a little documentary. So I'm very excited in working with him, and I'm working on that as well, and it looks like the beginning of the year we could have some commitments as far as financing as well.
You got
and then we can talk more about
that
as well.
Well, I want to thank you very much for coming on. You are a sweetheart. You were fun to talk to.
And, Scott, I have to plug my website.
You go right ahead.
Okay, unless you want to do that.
I will put, actually, you can mention it, and I will put it on the interview on the podcast, the link.
All right. Well, to all my fans out there, starting with you, Scott, thank you. Mm-hmm. And to all my fans out there, I want to wish everyone a Happy New Year. I want to wish everyone the best. And I want to thank you all for being there, for being my fans, and for hanging in there when I was gone for so long and being back again. Danning is back. I'm back kicking ass, and I'm doing things, and as long as you want to see me, I'm going to keep doing it. So thank you very much, and if you want to find out what's going on besides tuning in to Scott and Gruesome Herzog, you can also go to my website, see what's going on. You can order pictures, order DVDs, posters, whatever. Go to SybilDanning.net. That's SYBILDANNING.net. Yep. Your interview was incredible.
Thank you.
I mean, it was, I never stopped talking. I hope we got it all in that you wanted. I think we had to kind of jump to 2007 to get it all in.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what? The more the merrier. The more the merrier. You know what I mean? Yes.
And Scott, when accused of many things in my life, but never of being a bunny. No, hell no. I did. That was a celebrity spread. That's called a celebrity spread.
Yes, that's it. See, I don't.
No pun intended.
No.
That was a celebrity spread. The cover and 10 pages inside, and that was 1983, yes. August.
Beautiful pictures. Beautiful girl.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, dear.
Thank you, too.
You take care.
Thank you, and Happy New Year to you.
Same to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.